Some children grow up learning about allowance. I grew up learning about how to be in debt. Hi, this is Annette from Carpe Omnia after 60. I'm taking you for a walk while we discuss the thoughts on monies. And I've got a bit of a quirk, if that's the right word, about money. And I know that's a subject that's, for some people, it's kind of gauche to talk about. But because we are in retirement or past 60, it's kind of an important subject to discuss because the opportunity for earning more becomes less and less. And so you have to give it some good consideration. And I was looking at a video the other day about people who use their children as their retirement plan. And that got to me thinking that I won't be put into that position, but I'm also not going to be putting my children in that position to be my retirement plan. That is why I worked hard for all these years and got myself a pension. And we will be looking at husband when he retires. He could retire today if he wanted to. How long he works is totally up to him. If he said he was done today, I'd be fine with it. We would just have to really clamp down on our budget. And yeah, I'm going to turn this camera around and let you watch a little bit of the trail that I'm walking on, and I'll discuss where this quirk finances for me came from. And it started about the age of my remembering. My first memories sort of click in at about age 9, and I know that I was already working in the fields some and that kind of a thing before that age. Now, I grew up in a farm family, and a lot of these farm families, they had many, many children. My parents had 5. My aunt and uncle, just 4 miles away, they had 10 kids. And a lot of the thinking in these kind of families is basically as workers on the farm, laborers on the farm, and often free laborers on the farm. And that's how it certainly felt and appeared in my family, because the children were not really enjoyed at all, but we certainly worked very hard. Now, the boys and the girls had different experiences. A lot of the labors that we had to do from, when we were little, the girls had the free labor in the house, all the sweeping and vacuuming, washing the floors, cleaning the tubs, and dishes and gardening. And that was not counted. Only the girls did these things. The boys did not. They were out in the farm and the fields and that kind of stuff. Now, I started getting paid for some of my chores and such when I was about 7 or 8. I needed some help with part of it because some of the things were very heavy. We helped chase the cows in from 3 quarters away, so that was a lot of work. And late at night, washing the milkers and the bulk tank, rock and root picking. These were all things that we did when we were little, just to get the fields all worked up so that they can produce something. And I got a little clip of all the things that I did when I was small. And when it gets to the tractor work and anything where I'm driving, that's when I was age 12. As soon as my legs could hit the pedals, that's when I was put on the tractors. So here's a little clip of what I all did. Now, I don't have my own pictures of it because those reside at Mom and Dad's, and I don't have access to that. So I just snipped off pictures to show you what that was all about. Now, the disking and the harrowing, I almost got my head lopped off, and I mean it. You know how farm accidents happen? Well, I just got myself caught into one. I was disking with a harrow behind, and then in between the two was a long pole holding the harrows on, and I was in the field next to the barns where Dad was, and I was turning a right turn at the same time going up a hill, and the chains that held the log to the harrows wound around the big back tire, and the log came swinging around to my head, and I slammed on the brakes so hard, and I was just pressing with all my little self could press, and I was just there frozen And I could see Dad running across down the road, and he jumped over the fence and rescued me out of that position because it was like a couple inches from my head, and if any closer, I just wouldn't be here. The baling and the stooking, I drove the tractor and Dad stooked. And the round baling, that I did when I was a little bit older because we didn't have the round baler till maybe I was about 16. Now, part of the issue here was, since I started doing these paid chores, Dad and Mom had a ledger. They had a ledger and accounting book of credit and debit. And from the age of 8 or 9 till I left home, everything I earned was put into that ledger. It was $3 an hour. When I got into the field, as far as bolt tanks and washing out the 3 milking machines and that kind of a stuff, it was $3 a day. And this was put in the ledger book. But everything, well, my clothing, everything that I needed except for food, I had to pay for since I was little. One of the things that just stuck in my head was they decided that 3 of us kids needed to take accordion lessons because, well, we're German, and one of the cousins came with, and so there was 4 of us kids getting driven to the Royal Conservatory of Music and given accordion lessons every week. Now, Dad got a good deal on the accordions. They were about $450 a piece. And that accordion was put in on my ledger that I had to pay for. And those lessons got put in the ledger that I had to pay for. And yeah, that's how it was all the way growing up. And what was difficult to stomach was when I got married. My gift, the wedding gift they gave me was forgiveness of the debt that I still owed on that ledger book. Because no matter how hard I worked, no matter how many hours I put in on the fields, and some weekends, that's all I did was just from sunup to sundown, going on the fields, I could never bring down the debt. And the thing that held me the most was that accordion, and I hated that accordion. I didn't want the lessons. I didn't like the whole thing. But I had to pay for it, and I owed about $400 to the family when I had my wedding, and they forgave that debt to me. And so, since I was a child, before the age of 9, I was always in debt, and money was always a thing. And so, yeah, it really weighs heavy on my mind. And when I was married to the first husband, I was just out of high school. I had no education. I was a stay-at-home mom, he demanded. He refused to let me go to college even. He got one of the worst abuses he did to me, trying to choke me with a necklace that was wrapped around my neck, was because I was looking at a college calendar. So I wasn't even allowed to educate. And when we broke up and it was me and my 2 preschool kids, then I put myself in, I got the school college calendar, and I looked to see what could I take in a reasonable amount of time that could afford to feed my children, look after my needs, and never put me in a vulnerable position again with anybody else. And to me, that was nursing. And that's what I did for 32 years of that career. And it's probably the smartest thing I ever did. I was able to pull myself out of all sorts of pickles. And when I started nursing, I worked my way all the way up to all sorts of part-time positions, all the way up to full-time, and I did that for a couple decades. And my last 15, 20 years was just full-time night shifts, plus as much overtime as I could scrape together just to pull myself further along in life financially. And I'm just grateful for the pension I have, because otherwise I'd still have to be working. And this is why, if I can control my finances, I'm a whole lot happier than if people take from me. Like I had an ex-husband that I lost about $100,000 on him because he had sold our sound production gear for crack cocaine, but I had to still pay the debt on all that equipment. So that stung me because I was not in control of what he was doing. And that's when I was talking on a past video about loaning to my kids. The ones that refuse to pay back, it really ticks me off because they ask for a loan and it's a great chunk of money, and then they decide that they're not going to do it, and then I feel out of control on it. Whereas if I just bought them whatever they wanted, then it would have been my doing and up to me to handle and deal with. And so, yeah. So thanks for coming on that walk with me through our forest. Glad that Owen keeps it up with plowing it out every time we get snow. And it's really quite icy. I had to be very careful, and every now and again it'd be slippy. And so you can see that it's not the love of money being the root of all evil. It's the lack of money being the root of evil, in that when you're broke, then your security is down. Your choices and options in life drop. And so that's why I'm careful with what we've got. I'm able to, if I'm spending my own money, well, then I'm in control of it. When it comes time for Owen retiring, we will absolutely have to budget and clamp down on all the little spendings that we do, including both of us. Mine kind of leans into books a lot. I have a vast library. So this is Annette from Carpe, Omnia After 60. I look forward to seeing you later. Bye-bye.